February, with the club still near the relegation zone, they sacked him. Maximus landed on his feet though. He was appointed as Wigan manager with 5 games to go until the end of the season. He won all 5 of those games, securing a 4th place finish and qualifying for the League Two playoffs, where he then lost his first games to Wigan as they suffered defeat to Dover Athletic in the semi-finals. Tigers, on the other hand, has made it a hat-trick of doubles, thanks to beating Real Sociedad in the Copa del Rey final and only losing 3 games in La Liga all season to beat Real Madrid to the title again. But his Champions League curse continues. Once again, Titus guides the team to the final, and once again he fell at the final hurdle. This time they lost 1-0 to Arsenal in his final game at Barcelona. Titus has accepted a job elsewhere midway through the season, but decided to stay at Barca until the season finished before joining up to the new team. A day after losing to Arsenal, Titus has moved to Chelsea, which turned out to be a disaster. Titus has always played a 4-4-2, and it's worked really well up until now. He just couldn't get the Chelsea team to adapt to his tactics, and as a result, they massively struggled to win games. Chelsea famously do not give their managers any time to adapt, and after the final league game of the season, Titus was sacked as Chelsea manager. It does seem a little harsh though, as 10th place isn't much worse than the 7th and 6th place finisher they've had in the previous 2 seasons. But Titus heads into the summer break unemployed for the first time. And so does his brother. But his story is even crazier. After a great start to the new season in League Two, Championship Bristol City came in for Maximus, but they've got Premier League aspirations, and 19th in the Championship is not what the board were hoping for. So 156 days after joining, Maximus was sacked. The future now looks very uncertain for both twins. 9 months after being sacked, Maximus linked up with League One Portsmouth and immediately lost 6 games on the bounce. Pompey were already struggling, and with Maximus on board, things went from bad to worse. Maximus now has 3 relegations to his name, as Portsmouth finished 22nd in League One. His brother, on the other hand, had a much better season after being appointed as manager by one of his former playing day clubs, Newcastle United. As a player, he failed to win much with them, but as a manager, he's been incredibly successful. He guides the Magpies to 4th place in the Premier League, wins the FA Cup on penalties against Liverpool, and then defeats Aberdeen in the Europa League final. That means Titus now has 14 major trophies compared to Maximus's 2 promotions and 3 relegations. This story hasn't quite gone the way I was expecting it to go, and with both managers now 50 years old, there's only 15 years or so until the typical retirement age, so Maximus doesn't have long to catch up. Titus is the better coach. He's outstanding when it comes to attacking and tactical coaching, but when it comes to the highlighted attributes which are most important to being a manager, the only area where Maximus is behind his brother is judging how good players are. So this is why I think Maximus leaving Scotland to join Walsall was a massive mistake. If he'd stayed in the Premiership and worked his way up the ladder towards the Celtic and the Rangers, he'd be on a much better platform to win trophies and compete with his brother. Instead, he's now stuck in England's League Two. Despite their relegation, Portsmouth stuck with Maximus. He got them playing some good football and winning a good amount of games, but not enough to get promoted. Pompey could only finish 10th this season, missing out on the playoffs. But despite that, for once, Maximus has had the better season. Newcastle's board were expecting Titus to push the team on and challenge for the title, but that didn't happen. After failing to get themselves into a title-challenging position, the final nail in the coffin was a loss to Maximus's former club, Bristol City. Newcastle sacked Titus in March, but his next move might be his worst yet. In the last 17 seasons, Manchester United have only won 4 trophies: a Premier League, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Conference League. Titus now thinks he's the man to change all of that, and to be fair, he came close. United didn't play well across the season. Their longest unbeaten run was only 6 games. But because everyone else was playing so badly, they were in title contention right up until the final day of the season, when they lost to Manchester City. That allowed Chelsea to sneak ahead by a point and steal the title away from Titus. Man United are cursed, I am telling you that. Maximus, on the other hand, is still at Portsmouth. And this season, he does take them to the League Two playoffs, but big losses to his former club Walsall in both legs of the semi-finals puts an end to Pompey's promotion hopes, again, and he won't get another chance. By November, the writing was on the wall. No promotions and a bad start to the season meant Maximus's time on the South Coast was over. He stayed unemployed for the rest of the season, and he doesn't get another job until season 21. So we've got some time to spend with Titus instead, who did stay employed but went trophyless. United were knocked out of Europe and the Cup's early doors and never looked like winning the Premier League as they finished fifth. His luck wasn't much better the following season. This time United fall to 7th in the Premier League and lose the FA Cup final 2-0 to Spurs. It seems like Maximus is never going to win a trophy, and Titus won't win another one until he leaves Manchester United. And finally, he is beginning to understand that. With Xabi Alonso having just been sacked by Arsenal, there is a very exciting opening available. Titus takes the Arsenal job and is an instant success. He doesn't make big strides in the Premier League, but he is able to make deep runs in the FA Cup. After beating Sunderland, Scarborough and Horsham in the early rounds, he batters his former club Newcastle 3-0 in the quarter-finals. He then beats Crystal Palace 2-0 in the semi-finals, before finally winning his 15th trophy by beating Chelsea 2-1 in the final. Perhaps next season, Maximus can finally win one as well. Maximus is back in management north of the border. Hearts have hired him early in the season, and he's been able to do a solid job in the Scottish Premiership, but he just missed out on his first trophy. He took Hearts to the Scottish Cup final, the first final he's ever been to, where 10-man Celtic only won because of a silly own goal. A fifth-place finish in the league is also respectable, but Maximus will be wanting more, as will Titus, who went trophyless and backwards. His Arsenal side were knocked out of the Champions League phase and fell to 8th in the Premier League table. As a result, Titus got the sack. He had such an incredible start to his career, and now he's just a mediocre top-flight manager who on occasion can get to an FA Cup final and win it. For the first time ever, he's about to spend an entire season unemployed. That means Titus has plenty of time to give advice to his brother. Advice that perhaps Maximus shouldn't have taken. Hearts had a really good run through the Europa Conference League to the quarter-finals, where they were eventually knocked out by Mainz. The extra European games stretched the team thin, and they struggled for form during the busy periods of the campaign. So although they make the top 6 and play in the Championship group at the end of the season, they weren't able to make any progress and actually fell back one place to 6th. But the good showing in Europe put eyes on Maximus, and he's been able to get a
You come to Uber if you're working